transitioning from a first officer to a captain is a piece of cake? We're going to talk to Christy about that on this episode of Taking Off Podcast. Hello and welcome to this Taking Off Podcast. I'm Dan Milliken.
And I never know what Dan's going to say with the intro, so I'm always caught off guard. And
Piece of cake.
You always make me laugh. Okay, well, the first order of business that I want to address is a lot of people have kind of asked me this along the way, and as you guys know, I've just kept Christy Wong as my name because, you know, that was my name.
It's easy. You already kind of been known for it. It's your celebrity name.
Right, exactly. But I think I'm ready to start going by Christy Schaefer because, like, the only thing I go by Christy Wong on now is the channel.
Right.
And so you may see Christy Schaefer more and more.
Yeah, we'll try to work that out. You know, I'm not going to go through and edit 800 videos that we have on the channel. But
just moving forward.
Moving forward, it'll be Christy Schaefer.
And I know a lot of people are going to ask about the Wong Warrior, and that's fine. Like, we can still keep her name is actually Sweet Caroline. Like,
but you're the one who kept calling her the Wong Warrior, even though you also named her Sweet Caroline.
No, so actually, it was one of the tower controllers at Denton that started calling her the Wong Warrior. And so it caught on. Everybody started calling her the Wong Warrior. And of course, I embraced it. And so, yeah, like, she's the Wong Warrior. That's fine. I have no, I mean, my son's name, his last name is Wong. Like, that's not going to change.
Right.
Obviously. And I have nothing wrong with the Wong name. It's just that.
Wait, say that fast 10 times. Nothing wrong with the Wong name?
Yeah, nothing wrong with the Wong name.
Okay, gotcha.
So
that's pretty good.
Either way, I just feel like, you know, now it's been a couple of years. I should probably maybe transition. We'll try it out. We'll see how it works. Otherwise, I'm Christy Wong for on the channel, I guess.
Or we'll just come up with something totally different.
You know what? Yeah, Christy Smith or Christy.
Or just Pilot Christy.
Yeah.
Not Captain Christy? Because that's why we're here today to talk about Captain Christy has been created.
Yeah, so Captain Christy is like a legitimate thing now. Like, I'm out there captaining, and it's been wild.
All right. For those who are keeping score at home, you have been a first officer for Envoy, and you were getting a little bit long in the tooth as a first officer, holding off them transferring you to captain for reasons that we've talked about on this podcast before.
Right. So
bring us up to date on why you decided to go ahead and make the leap from the right chair to the left seat.
Well, I didn't.
You would have stayed right seat.
For a little bit longer, maybe. You know, honestly, at this point, I don't know, because I'm one of those people that I just need to do it. You know, like, it was like the whole spin training thing, and to get your CFI, I was terrified of going and doing spin training, but like, I went and I did it, and I know we're gonna have to go skydiving here pretty soon.
Right.
And I actually just had this conversation this morning with somebody, funny enough. And I was like, you know, I just have to go do it. And it was the same thing with Captain Upgrade. Like, I just have to go do it and experience it. So what happens typically in the regional airlines is in order to keep the company going, especially with the way that pilots have been kind of coming in and moving on. They come in, they move on. That's what the regionals are for. They're a stepping stone effectively for most people, not everybody, but for most people. And because of that, the most valuable people within that, you know, arena are going to be your captains, because they've got the, you know, captaining, you know, PIC experience and everything else. So we lose more captains than first officers. Because of that, the business decision has been made by the company to do what's called displaced upgrades. So you have to have a minimum of 1,000 hours of 121, which is airline flying time, in order to become a captain. At 950 hours, you are eligible to upgrade to a captain, because you will get 50 hours of initial operating experience with a line check airman once you pass all of your initial captain upgrade training. That's why there's that 950 thing. So basically what happens is for our company, once a quarter, they do a vacancy and displacement bid. And so that's where they look at the operational needs of the company. Are there vacancies that people can preference bid into a captain? Are there, or do we need to take these FOs that have more than 950 hours and displace them. And so in October of last year, I had like 940 hours when they did that vacancy and displacement bid. And so I just squeaked by, but that was kind of by design because I didn't want to go in with the minimum amount of experience. I wanted more experience going into being a captain. So once that vacancy and displacement bid closed, I saw the writing on the wall. I knew my fate was sealed, and I flew. I flew several hundred more hours. I actually wound up flying like 300 or 400 more hours in that time. Yeah, like I flew a lot. So now you're
well over 1,300 hours.
Yes.
For your,
so what wound up happening was during the January vacancy, I think at that time I had like 1,100 or 1,200 hours, somewhere around there, and they got me. You know, I knew. They were like, "Oh, congratulations, you're a captain." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." You know, but and then I just continued to fly. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'd chill on reserve." Well, I didn't want to do that. Like I wanted the experience to go into it. And I'm so glad I did because I learned a lot just in that last couple of months. But anyway, so we go to training, we go to upgrade training. The whole process takes about a month with the ground school simulator training, check rides in the simulator, etc. You guys kind of got a sneak peek of that from the other video.
We have a video on the channel of Christy's first sim session.
That was my first sim. It was kind of a mock sim session.
Yeah, it wasn't even official. You weren't on the calendar. We were just going to do it for the channel.
Yeah, but it was my first time flying in the left seat. And that was very like, whoa, because the sight picture is different. Everything is different. It's funny because I was like, why am I so bad at this? All of my muscle memory is in my left hand. So as a first officer, I was over here. I got you. I could, whatever. And then I get into the left seat and my right arm's like,
doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. Wait, where's that button again? And I mean, it was really frustrating because like I know exactly where I need to go, but my muscle memory doesn't know where to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I passed all the check rides, passed all the training. Everything was great. And then that's when they pair you with a line check airman and they put you in IOE, initial operating experience. And that's where you actually fly flights. You're qualified as a captain now, basically, or you're qualified to be in that seat with a line check airman. And then you get those 50 hours of real line flying experience flying people to places.
For those who may not understand the airline schedules, 50 hours equates to about how many flights?
It wound up being, I think, about 3.5 trips. So
that's all.
4-day trips, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you got to think our average trip is around 17 to 18 hours. Like for the trip. That's
but
for
multiple
a 4-day
days.
Trip.
A trip is
it's 4 days. Yeah, a trip is usually about 3 or 4 days.
Okay, gotcha.
And so that's what it was. It was a 4-day, a 4-day, a 4-day, and then I actually needed one more turn on top of that because one of our trips, they actually canceled a flight on us. They schedule you right over 50 hours. So I mean, if there's any cancellations or anything, you're going to need more time. And that's what they did. They were really great though. Like the schedulers were amazing working with me on that. The first 2 trips I did were actually with Kevin. So my husband, Kevin, is a line check airman and they were able to put us together. And it's training. He's not evaluating or anything like that. We both agreed. We did not want him to evaluate me just for conflict of anything. We just didn't want there to be anything there. And so, but those first 2 trips that we had, oh my gosh, what an incredible learning experience. I'm literally experiencing things that I had never seen before. And
all because of just simply moving from the right seat to the left seat?
I swear to goodness, it's crazy. Like some of the stuff that I dealt with. Now, we're always going to deal with things like weather and schedules and things of that nature. But with the some of the weather that we went around was just, I mean, these were like crazy, like life-ending storms. And when I say that, I mean, these storms were 60,000, 70,000 footers moving through the Midwest, dropping tornadoes on people. And we are having to navigate around these storms. And I've navigated around storms and stuff before, but there was just some really weird situations popping up. Like we've got two separate lines of storms that don't have anything really to do with each other that merged together on us after, we'd been flying for 3 hours. They started to close up and, we've got an alternate, but it's on the other side of the storm. So we got to get an alternate on this side of the storm. And just a lot of different things like that, maintenance considerations. I was really fortunate because I got to go to some of our other bases. I got to go to Miami and Chicago and kind of navigate those airports. I got to go to Charlotte, which is not a base for Envoy, but it is an American Airlines base. And so we do a lot of flights in and out of Charlotte. And I got to do that. I've been to all these bases as a first officer, but man, I promise you guys, it's completely different as a captain. So just different weird maintenance stuff popping up, issues with passengers, just things like that. So the training portion of it was really interesting. And then I did my Fed ride. That's where you actually have an FAA Fed right in your jump seat, and you basically get a check ride from him just doing a regular line flight. And you're doing that while getting a line check from a line check airman. So
is it like the equivalent for GA? Is it like the equivalent for GA of a DPE?
Yeah, sort of. Except instead of going up and saying, okay, we're going to go do these maneuvers, it's just a normal line flight. They just want to see how you are as a captain. And so
so there's not a list of things you have to accomplish.
No.
Oh, here we are going to do a emergency descent. With
do that. So you do that in the simulator.
Okay.
So there's effective.
But not with a Fed.
You're doing it with a sim check airman.
Okay.
Which
Sim check airman.
With the airlines, that's your equivalent of a DPE.
Okay, gotcha.
They're evaluating you. They're a representative of the airline. They usually work for the airline, but they're a representative of the FAA and the airline.
So they're contracted by the FAA, just like DPEs are.
Sort of. I think they're considered employees of the airline, but those individuals are. But you have two checking events in the simulator. You have your maneuvers validation, your MV, and that's where you go and you do all these crazy maneuvers and emergencies and stuff like that. Your second checking event is called the LOE, which is your line observation evaluation. Mm-hmm. And that is where you do 2 legs, you fly somewhere and you fly back, and there may or may not be something crazy that happens along the way, like a pack failure, dual pack failure, electrical emergency, something like that. They want to see how you're going to handle that. That's in the simulator though. When you do your Fed ride and your line check, it's usually on the same day. And they have a Fed in your jump seat, and you've got your line check airman sitting as your first officer. There is no training allowed. And so you go up and you just do a flight.
See, to me, that sounds like less stressful than a check ride.
It is. It is and it isn't, because you're like, okay, if anything comes up, like, how am I going to handle this as a captain? Like, a lot of the learning of being a captain is actually once you're already on the line as a captain.
Okay.
I can attest.
Like the CFI, it's a license to learn when you pass.
100%. 100%. Like, once you pass that and you get on the line as a captain, you're like, oh my God, now the real learning begins. And let me tell you guys, so I've been a captain for a week now, and I had my first 4-day trip, and then I had a turn yesterday. And it's like every single day, every day that I've been a captain so far, I've had to deal with weird stuff that I never dealt with before as a first officer, like weird things. I don't even know where to begin, but it's just like weird delays, maintenance stuff that I haven't seen before, like missing crew members. This is so weird, you guys. So yesterday, I'm sitting on the airplane. I've got one flight attendant and me. I've got the airplane set up, turned on, ready to go, just waiting for the first officer and the number 1 flight attendant to get there. They are nowhere to be found. So I go look at their schedule, because I can look at that. And they've blocked in. They're at the other gates. And they should be here by now. It's been 45 minutes.
Oh.
And so it's like, where are they? So I talk to the dispatcher. I call crew scheduling. Nobody knows where they're at. And it turns out that they got stuck on the airplane because the jet bridge broke.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we're sitting here okay, what do we do? There's, do we get a reserve? What's going on?
Right.
But they're trying to figure out, because they're both on the same trip. They're coming off the same trip, but it's just kind of one of those things where we can't board without both of our flight attendants there.
Well, as a passenger, how many times I can count of just sitting in the chairs waiting to board because they're waiting on, crew to come in from another flight that got hung up.
Well, and the day before was when all that crazy weather was in DFW. And so that messed everybody up. That schedules, crew, airplanes are not where they're supposed to be. Like, it's a wild time.
Well, I bet one of the most stressful, hardest jobs in the airline industry would be scheduling and dispatch.
Oh, probably. Like, the schedulers and the dispatchers, dude, you guys are...
They earn their pay for sure.
Yeah, like they probably don't get paid enough. Whatever it is,
well, they probably
need more.
get yelled at a lot too.
No, and I know that that's true. And I do not yell ever at the dispatchers, and I do not yell ever at the schedulers, because you guys have to realize, like, they're just trying to do their jobs, and they don't know. It's not like they know us personally. We are a seat and we're a pilot in a seat. We're either a captain or an FO.
Right.
So, but it's been a crazy learning experience. I had to fly last week. I think day 2, like, our hotel van was late picking us up from the hotel to take us to the airport. That's never happened before.
Wow.
So, I mean, just like really weird thing. I was like, I have no clue what to do. So I just started making phone calls. I feel like I'm on the phone so much now as a captain. Coordinating and everything else. It's highly administrative.
Do you look back now at your time as an FO and look back to times where you didn't realize maybe the captain was doing a whole bunch of that kind of stuff in the background that you didn't really see before?
I mean, yeah, like, I definitely have looked back and I go, okay, like, I have a lot of respect. I always had respect for that position, and I kind of knew what was coming, but you don't really know until you're there. Like, Kevin, when he got upgraded under similar conditions, he would come home from a 4-day trip zonked. Like, it's literally, okay, I got off my 4-day trip last week, and he was like, oh, do you want to have wings for dinner tonight? Because we usually, once a week, we get smoked wings. And I literally was like, I had decision fatigue.
Sure.
And so he would tell me, and I would very much sympathize with him, but I had no idea. You don't know until you're in that situation. And so now I get home from a 4-day now, and I'm like, zonked.
Well, it's the same thing in my industry, in filmmaking and movies and TV. When you're on a big crew and you're the director, like later today, my phone's lighting up. I had to go out and take a call real quick because we're getting ready for the live Jimmy show taping, and I got 13 people downstairs working, and everybody wants decisions. And I know totally what you're saying, and I know that by late tonight, I'll have decision fatigue, and it's, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't care. You tell me. Like,
I don't even want to eat right now. I mean, that's kind of how I was.
Yeah, I totally get that.
So, I mean, but here's the thing. I don't want to make it sound like it's this big negative or like it's, unmanageable or anything like that. It's just different. It's a lot, and I'm learning. It's drinking from the fire hose right now. I will say this, though. I'm actually really enjoying it. I actually am really enjoying it. Okay, here's another one for you guys. I had right away, my very first trip, I had my first go around as a captain.
Nice.
So when you're a brand new captain, when you're below 100 hours of PIC time, you're a restricted captain, which means you have to add higher minimums to your decision altitudes and things like that. So we're going into one of the airports. So again, there's weather and everything else, but it had rolled in low ceilings, mist, lower visibility. We're going in, and the ATIS is saying that it's overcast at 600 feet. Fine. At this point, we only need 500. We're going on an RNAV because there's no ILS on this particular runway that we're going into. And then they said it's variable between 500 feet and 900 feet ceilings. Again, that's fine. With my restricted minimums, I think we needed 480 feet. So I'm thinking this is fine. But you know what? Just to make sure, and I've got a 90-hour FO with me. So he's new as well. But I just said, hey, look, if we have to go around, it's no big deal. And I went through the call outs and the flows of what the go around was, just as a reminder. And I made sure I felt where the toga button was. So here we go. We're coming down, approaching minimums. And I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing, no lights, no anything, minimums. And we both said, all right, go around. And so it was the most beautiful go around I've ever done. You know, I've done
because you were mentally prepared for it.
Absolutely.
You prepped it beforehand.
Absolutely.
You were ahead of the airplane.
Yep, 100%. So we went around. It was no big deal. We climbed up and talked to air traffic control. The winds were actually like a direct crosswind. They were only like 10 knots. It wasn't that big of a deal. But they asked us if we wanted to try the ILS. I said yes. So we got vectored to come back around. So now we're at lower minimums. And then I took one extra step. I messaged the dispatcher on ACARS and said, I need the exemption for the restricted captain. There's certain criteria that you can use to, if you're doing an ILS approach, to get down to that like 200-foot DA instead of the 300-foot restricted. So I was like, I need this exemption right away. My dispatcher, amazing, got it to me immediately, put it on the release. So now I'm legal to bring the minimums down to the normal DA, which is a good thing because when we came around, we broke out right above like the DA.
Wow.
And so right above minimums, runway in sight, landing, and we got her down. And we rolled in and it was like, I just felt really accomplished, honestly. That was like a huge confidence booster.
Sure.
Cause we did it. I did exactly all the steps I needed to do to make it a successful outcome. And I consider the go around a successful outcome as well.
All right. You talked about confidence building. Now, what they may not know is you talk about it being great, that you're so glad, but it's been hard too.
It's absolutely hard.
And I mean, I've gotten a call from you.
Yeah, it's been hard. It's been really hard because
and it was your confidence
100%
that took a big hit.
100%.
Because you have been an incredible FO, and now you're going to the left seat, and you're not meeting your own personal standards.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was saying earlier with the muscle memory. Everything that I knew, it was like, this is so stupid. Like, it's silly to think about. From the right seat, I know exactly where the APU is. I know where this switch is. I know where that switch is. If I want to go and hit the heading button or the heading, knob, it's right there. Here's the altitude. If I need, to do this with the autopilot and that with the autopilot. From the left seat, my right hand is still trying to figure it out. And that first couple of weeks of IOE was really hard for me in that sense. I went from being a really great FO, well-respected, I have a fairly good reputation for being an FO with our company and everything else, to I'm like, I don't want to say mediocre, but like I'm a new captain.
Right.
So I don't have that yet because I don't have the experience or the muscle memory and stuff like that. Oh, I'm getting the experience now. But, I'm still figuring things out. And that's why I said earlier, like, I just have to do it.
Yeah.
Because as I do it, I'm building that muscle memory and stuff.
Well, and I think it's even going quicker than I think you anticipated.
It is. Absolutely. Yeah. I thought that I was going to be like in Jello for at least the next 6 months, mentally. But
no, you're doing great.
Yeah. Now that I'm experiencing it and I'm having successful outcomes, and I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than like, yeah, it's really hard. Flight training in general is hard. Like your private pilot certificate at the time you're working on it is hard. Mm-hmm. And then you get perspective and you look back on that and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But when you're in it and going through it, it's hard.
Yeah.
I know that pretty soon I'm going to look back at this experience and I'm going to say, you know what? It wasn't that bad. But in the moment, until I gain that perspective and experience, it's very hard. But I'm learning a lot and I'm actually really enjoying myself, which I didn't think I would get to that point. But it's really, I'm enjoying it. And people are so excited to see a female captain. And I know we don't talk a lot about that, but I didn't realize what an impact that was. But like, I've got so many people that approach me, passengers, rampers, flight attendants, that are like, it is so good to see a female captain up here, And so, I'm kind of using my powers for good to try to help inspire and motivate other individuals that are potentially thinking about flying. And I'm just having fun with it now.
All right. Glad to hear that you're having fun. So, well, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget our sponsors that make shows like this possible, from Marshall Protective Services, personal protection elevated, 67 designs, best camera mounts for your plane. Clemens Insurance, clemensinsurance.net. Colton Mortgage for your residential mortgage. And Flying Eyes.
Don't forget Flying Eyes.
Use our discount code, taking off all caps, one word, 10% off, and Z Vision, the brightest landing and taxi lights out there. Christy?
Yeah, I will see you guys in the skies.